Hey everyone, thank you for tuning in, and this video is going to be something similar to the previous video, and the reason for that is that the previous video, which was about the cost of dog ownership or owning a dog, just did very well. It brought multiple viewers within hours or minutes even after the upload, which just made me wonder that perhaps it was a right move to add an economic section to this channel and I should hit on it more. So what is better than talking about one of those factors that is necessary in the Western culture and specifically in Northern American countries, is very popular and pretty much part of the culture, and it's nothing but the cost of ownership of a car or having a car overall. So this is something that perhaps a lot of people know about, the cost of owning a brand new car versus purchasing an old used car. And in this video specifically, when we're saying old used car, we're referencing to a car that you're purchasing from a private party, not a dealer. All right, so because we're gonna go through different factors in order to showcase to you guys the differentiation between the prices and how much you're spending, so it's very important to put that side marker from the beginning so nobody's confused and I don't get those hate comments later on. However, in next videos I'm going to talk about the benefits or the downsides of purchasing a car from a used car from a dealership and comparing that with a private seller or even a brand new car. But for this exact video, we're going to talk about only from brand new car, meaning you're going to a dealership buying a brand new car within 10 to 20 miles to a couple hundred miles, versus a used car that you're purchasing it outright cash and you're done with it from, again, a third party or a private seller. All right, so one of those factors that really make this whole argument towards owning a used car is the fact that the cost of insurance when you're purchasing a brand new car is always going to be more expensive than used car. And it's simply because when you're purchasing a brand new car, you are borrowing the money that you don't have. So basically the car is not fully under your name until you pay off that car, and it is then fully under your name and you get the title and everything, right? So because you're borrowing that money and because it's not under your name, the company is requiring you to go with a certain insurance. And that insurance, that package of insurance, which is very well known among insurance companies, it will have options that you can avoid or not having them as a necessary option, right? When you're going with a used car, and you can save up a lot of money with it. Because usually when it comes to the insurance packages, and again, all of this is just for educational purposes, it's not a financial advice, and I'm not an expert when it comes to the insurance by no means, it's just what I know. But usually when it comes to the insurance packages, you have the option to choose what you want to have and then the limit that you want to have. However, when you're purchasing a brand new car, certain things have to be part of that policy, which makes it more expensive, and monthly you have to pay more. In this case, we were trying to purchase a Tesla for my brother, which was about 70 to 80 bucks more per month versus purchasing a used car or simply him driving a used car to the university that he recently got accepted. So when you're multiplying that difference, which in this case was $70 to $80 by 12, and then of course when you're buying a brand new car, you're in it for 72 months. By 5 years, you will see that it will add up to a significant amount. So that insurance price difference, it is something to note. And usually with purchasing a used car, you will be saving on that money until you're more comfortable and later on can add those options to the limits that you want to. But that doesn't mean that you have to pay out right in front of them when you're purchasing the car. All right, so insurance is one of those factors. The second factor is basically the registration, because registration is often based on the purchase price of the car or how much the car is worth. And then so it's just a simple math. The cheaper your car is, the less you have to pay for the registration, which registration is often yearly or annually. And then so for example, in this case, my brother, if he would have stayed or continued driving the 2007 Acura TSX that we have, which is used with 120,000 miles, he would pay still $124 per year, versus if he would have purchased a Tesla, he would have paid about $800. So, and that's a majority of brand new cars nowadays. Again, it can be different, especially if you go higher, but usually you have to pay a substantial amount more when you're purchasing a brand new car, and that portion is annually. Now, another thing is interest rate, and the interest that you have to pay on your car. At the time that I'm recording this video, interest rates are horrible all over the world, and it is something that substantially has been affecting American lives. And it's very important that dealerships, because of the recent years, especially like since 2020 and the whole COVID thing, which all the prices have inflated, have been doing their best to take advantage of the customers. And what they're doing is that they play with the interest rate, or they're messing with the MSRP, adding these extra monies to it. So you have to pay extra stuff at the end, or when you're signing for the car or purchasing the car. It is so bad that in certain cases, if you watch these money show or money educational shows like Dave Ramsey, you will see that when they're even doing the math with all the interest rate and how much they're charging them, the car is not even worth as much as the person is going to pay for it. So they are losing money one way or another. And interest is basically you are paying for the money that you don't have. And you're telling that institution, either it's a bank, either it's a credit company or whatever, that like, oh, by the way, this month I had extra, or because the interest rates are usually annually, this month I had like $300 extra, right? Here you go. I will just hand it to you. So that interest is also eating on you. And the whole fact that I personally don't like, on top of just paying extra for it because of the interest, is the fact that now you are borrowing the money that you don't have in the first place, thinking that the economy and the whole situation, your health, your family, everything is going to be stable and the way it is at the moment or at the time that you're thinking about purchasing that brand new car. However, we just don't know how it's going to be. I mean, right now it's a perfect time with all the layoffs, right? So that to me is a huge risk factor, on top of the interest being one of the negative factors. And then it's just like, I don't want to lock myself into this loop that every month somebody is knocking on my door or coming to my bank account and be like, thank you very much for the payment, rather than purchasing something cheaper and not as good looking or not as modern, but then I have the ability to control myself, to keep my spending under control and save up that money, rather than just handing it to those institutions. And when I have enough money, sell my old car, sell my used car, and then upgrade it. So with interest rate, we really talk about like three factors, not having the money, them coming at you every month, and that the stress factor that the economy or everything is gonna stay the same. Now, another thing that we need to talk about is those hidden fees. The registration fee, the title fee, the everything. I've never done it, but I know there are multiple categories that often dealers charge customers when it comes to really finalizing the deal. And the sneaky part about it is that you basically negotiate the whole time about everything, right? About, oh, I really want the purchase price to not be more than $25,000 or $500 a month. And then once you're done basically taking care of all the negotiations, then they're like, okay, so they put the car price as that, and then they add up these hidden fees afterwards, which you have to pay for them. Again, when we were looking at the Tesla website, it wasn't specific about everything else because it was saying that there will be additional fees that can potentially add up, but I literally saw a transportation fee or some other factors. But usually these are part of the game when you're purchasing it from a dealership that just goes with it. However, when it comes to like purchasing a used car, you're literally just paying for the transfer of the title, which you are paying when you're purchasing a brand new car as well. However, in this case, it's going to be much cheaper again because it goes back to the purchase price of the car. So it's these hidden fees, again, transportation fee, the title fee, the license fee, that you are not paying when you are purchasing a used car, which they can add up. They can add up to be like $500 or $800. It's still a good portion of money. And then a last factor that I want to mention, and I know it will be controversial for some, it's the down payment. So for example, let's go back to the example that I brought up so far in this video, and it's the case with purchasing a Tesla. So in order to make that $54,000 purchase price, they ask us to put down $4,000, or we could have put down even more. But let's say this down payment that majority of people are thinking, oh no, this one is not going to waste. It's going towards my car's payment, and it's going to lower the amount that I'm borrowing from the whatever institution that you're going for, right? However, I strongly disagree. Why? Because that down payment that you currently have in hand is the instant that how much you can afford to own a car, or the car that you can afford is based on the money that you have in hand. So let's say in this case $4,000 or $5,000, right? I have $5,000 in hand, or you have $5,000 in hand, but you're aiming for a $54,000 car, which means you have to borrow all of the other portion of it. However, with $5,000 you can buy a whole car, a whole used car. Of course, you have to go with the 2005, 2006 Civic, or these different cars around this price. So something cheaper, something lower in terms of, hierarchy. However, that's how much you can afford. And when you're purchasing that whole car, your money is there. However, when you're paying that $5,000, your money is gone as a down payment, right? Until you sell the car and get your money back. And that's something that a lot of people would go against me, because they're like, no, it's still in the car. But yeah, you never will retrieve it unless it gets to the point that you're selling your car and now you cash it out and now you can have your $5,000 back, versus it could have been a whole price of an entire used car. Or you could have saved that up, that $5,000, and added like another two and aimed for a better car. To me, that was a whole car that I didn't have to worry about the payments. I didn't have to pay extra for insurance. I didn't have to pay extra for registration, for these hidden fees, and for the interest. And now it's just gone toward a huge debt that I'm putting on my back. Now, let's put a quotation mark here. And it's very important that we talk about this. What is this whole argument that we talked about? This whole argument that we talked about, and again, it has educational purpose in order to show you guys the difference between the value and how much you are potentially wasting money on versus how much you can save and dedicate it to different assets, or even save and not pay to this different institution because of these differences of interest fees and etc. etc. But I would say that one size does not fit all cases. And what it means is that although it doesn't make sense for majority of people, that's a key point, majority of people to purchase a brand new car because they're getting ripped off, but in certain cases it does make sense for people to purchase a new car. For example, if you are making a lot of money and that $800, that $500 is not a big deal to you, it's 1/10, 1/12 of your income, then maybe it makes sense for you to buy it. Maybe that class it's just one of those factors that you're gifting to yourself because of all the hard work that you put in order to get there, right? If that is really the case. However, even in my case, when I become a lawyer, I will never make that stupid mistake because it's simply just wasting my money. All right, now if that's the case, sure. And then the second factor, it's because we all need to understand our lives very well and take educated action based on our needs. All right, so although it doesn't make sense for majority to purchase a brand new car, but if you're a mother like my mom was, because she purchased a brand new car. She purchased a 2015 Toyota Prius. She was a mother. Me and my brother were younger. We were in high school. My brother was in middle school. My dad is 93% disabled, so he cannot really contribute into the house chores. All of it was on my mom's back. And then on top of that, she had to take care of us, taking us to school, back to these different classes. And then she simply didn't want to deal with mechanics, because majority of the mechanics, especially when it comes to women, and there is like literally an investigation that one of the Canadian channels put out, they try to rip you off. So in that case, for a woman in that situation, it just made sense for my mom to go purchase a brand new car, spend this extra money for a peace of mind. All right, so we made that whole argument, but I just want to be fair. I just want to say that there are circumstances that it does make sense, that if you're aiming for it, maybe it does make sense. Maybe it's reasonable. But for majority of the people, and that's the reason I made this video, for majority of the people, they know it's a wrong thing. They know it's not a good decision to purchase a brand new car. They can get away with that $10,000, with that $8,000, with that $12,000 car. But then somebody in their family go buy a brand new one. Their relative, their friend buy a brand new car. And they're making a little bit more money than before. Not to mention all the inflation and everything. I'll go buy one too. And they forget about everything else that they've heard. All the calculations that they're perhaps, right? Because majority of them say, oh, I've done it. I've done the calculation. Perhaps I've done. And they just made this mistake. So this video is for them. And for those of you to not forget about all these hidden fees that exist and all this extra money that you're handing into the institutions, when you can set aside to purchase a better car, when you can set aside in order to travel and take care of things that really makes you happy. I hope this video was helpful. Thank you for watching, and until the next one, peace.